Hey guys, it's Blake. I am back again here with another update on my Aston Martin GM LT4 Gen 5 swap. So I've been working on installing my new MoTeC engine management system. The car's running on a MoTeC M142 for the ECU. I have an E888 expander right down here in this giant mess of cables. These actually do all have a place they go, but I'm in the process of doing some testing and troubleshooting and finalization. So I don't really have a reason to clean them all up just yet. We have a can-checked display that's out of focus. There we go. That is going to be mounted down in a vent over here, out of the way. And then we have our OEM gauges, OEM start button. So with that said, let's go ahead and ignition on to show you a few features. So first of all, you'll note that my gauges are awake. It thinks that my engine coolant temperature is happy, that I'm doing about 4,200 RPM, and that I'm not currently moving. That is because I have the MoTeC M142 emulating factory data outputs to the CAN gauges from the Aston Martin. So I reverse engineered these. Are some earlier videos where I kind of show how that works. I was previously using a Arduino-based system to run these, to translate the OBD2 data to run it. With the MoTeC, I don't have to do that. I can do it directly. You'll also note that I do not have traction control or ABS warning lights on. So that's all been handled in those CAN messages. Looking over here, my can checked. Obviously this data is not correct, but that's because I don't have sensors hooked up. But this is active CAN data from the engine management system. So that's all working great. If we look over here, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. This is our start button that we would have on any normal, sorry, I'm gonna run an update on my MoTeC in the background here. On any normal Aston Martin, and it lights up red when the engine is ready to start. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to my ECU right here. And then at the same time, I'm going to switch over to the PDM software because I want to show you all a few things. So this button is not lit up red. If you're in a normal factory Aston Martin, that means that you have not met all of the requirements for the engine to start. So if we come over and look in the PDM is actually what controls our starter solenoid. And I'm currently fighting with my laptop. There we go. All right, so if we look down here, you'll see starter solenoid right here, and you'll see that it's off. When I press this button, boom, boom, I'm pressing the button, nothing happens. The button's not red. We have not met all of the criteria. So that's because I don't have the clutch pressed. So I'm gonna press the clutch, boom. I don't have a transmission in it right now, so it goes straight to the floor, but I press the clutch. We now hit the criteria. Our engine is below 650 RPM. And our clutch is down, so now we have a start button. So if I press the start button, I don't have a starter hooked up, so you're not going to hear it crank, but we do see our output on the PDM go active. So we do have essentially OEM behavior for that. I will have some other security features tied into this. I don't really want to put those in a video, but just know that you can extend those through other systems. Another CAN device I have hooked up, but not doing anything just yet, is this keypad. This talks to ECU, it is awake, it is working. This is gonna control a whole bunch of different other features, traction control settings, launch control settings, cooling fan override, intercooler pump override, things like that. So let's take a look at some other OEM features we've hooked up, which includes the cruise control that you can see here. So we come back into the MoTeC M1 software. I can find my mouse. Look for cruise control. All right, so if we look at cruise set switch, we can see our status down here is off. So what I've done is connected a 5 volts rail via 1K pull-up resistor into this factory switch. This is the same way that Aston Martin did it originally. And there's a resistor grid array here, which means that every time you press one of these buttons, you get a different voltage amount. So we're looking at the cruise set switch, right? Yes, so I have mapped that to down here. So if we press that, boom, we see that turn on. So if you see this turn on, I'm pressing the set switch. So let's pick a different one. Let's try resume. So resume is right here. We're currently off. If I zoom out, I'm pressing that resume switch, and it wakes up, turns on. So that is all working just like factory. So let's take a look at another setting. One more. So air conditioner. So if we look at air conditioner, we have a whole bunch of things, but the one we want to watch is the one down here on the bottom right, AC request. So we have our AC button, and I don't have the HVAC system on, so the button's not going to light up right now. But the purpose of this is to make sure that it does detect the state. So I'm pressing it, and we see AC request change to on. So we do have full OEM behavior on that. So again, we've got everything working. Probably somewhat less impressive. I have the throttle pedal going and all of the, the basic chassis sensors working. Down here, we do have a traction control light. This is also going to function correctly. I will use the keypad to set my traction control level of aggressiveness, and I will display that up here on the can checked. But I will be able to have an override with the factory switch. So the factory switch will work as stock. So again, everything's working, and I've gone through in the other videos kind of how I ran these gauges with the CAN bus, so I'm not going to go through and modify that all or go through that all again inside the MoTeC here. But just trust me, I can send RPM in decimal form, and it will output to the gauges as expected, and the speed actually works as well. I just have it set to 0 miles per hour because if it thinks you're driving and the hood's up, it sends you a whole bunch of angry beeps, which is kind of fair. You probably shouldn't do that. So again, good progress here. I'm going to go ahead and step out of the car, and I'll show you kind of where the ECU is mounted and how I've got that set up. And then next video, we're going to hopefully go through the upgrades I'm doing to the fuel system. So thanks, everybody. Have a good one.